Good evening at 6:33 on Tuesday, April 6th. We would call the meeting to order. It looks like we have a quorum. Michelle, do you need to call the roll? I've forgotten.
Yes.
I'm flying. I just broke every speed law on Route 2 as usual. I think everybody's here. Michelle, do you want to call it? Michelle Town, I've lost you.
Mr. DeForge,
Present.
Mrs. Granger,
Here.
Mr. Leone,
Here.
Mr. Quinty,
Here.
Mrs. Reshoots,
Here.
Mrs. Simmons.
Here.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you very much. Can we do the Pledge of Allegiance? Gee, I see Bob Briggs in here. I don't think he's ever led our pledge for us. So being the champion of the world, we could have Bob lead us in. If you open your mic, Bob. You'd have us lead us in the pledge.
What are you doing to me, Joyce?
I'm having you lead the Pledge of Allegiance, Bob, because you have such
Oh
a
my
beautiful voice.
goodness. Can I pass? I've had a rough day. You do it better than me.
Well, Jonathan already has his hand over his heart, so he can do it. Good show, Jonathan.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
Flag, United States of
United
America,
States of America, and to the
Republic
The Republic
which
which
stands
stands
one nation,
one nation
under
God,
God,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
liberty
liberty
liberty and
liberty,
justice
justice
for all.
justice
for all.
for all.
Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you very much. We have tonight as our student representative with us, Diane.
Yes, she is here. I'm just making her a panelist now.
Thank you,
Diane.
Michael.
Hi, Cheyenne.
Hi.
Hi, Cheyenne.
All right. So the things going on in the high school, obviously the big one is that we went all back on Monday. For me, it has been great. I have missed seeing my friends from the other cohort. I have missed all of my teachers are now back or like fully in person. Not one of them is remote, which is awesome. I love seeing all my teachers in school. I love seeing all my friends in school. I also love like seeing the freshmen because this year has been strange, as we all know. Usually the freshmen are easier to integrate into the upper grades. I knew when I was an underclassman, being friends with the upperclassmen was like so fun. So I'm so excited to like help integrate the freshmen into our grades more, which is fun. Lunches is great now that like everyone's there. We're able to pick where we want again. I loved that. There's like 3 areas for the juniors and seniors and 4 areas for the freshmen and sophomores because there's more freshmen and sophomores. Yeah, so if you have any questions, I can answer them about the school coming back. If not, there's also like one other thing I can say.
All you need to do is tell us how successful it was, and that's what we love to hear. So it sounds like that's what you did. So you on.
All right, the last thing I was gonna say is our volleyball. I know you guys love hearing about our sports. I can say that JV and varsity volleyball, I'm on the volleyball team, have been doing great this year. We're 5-3 right now for varsity, and I think there's 7-1 or 6-2 for JV, which is great. So I think that's about it I got for you guys.
Are we looking forward to dances, proms, water
Oh, I'm
balls,
so excited.
water gun fights, or whatever Phil said?
What'd you say? Sorry, can you repeat
We're
that?
going to have water gun fights since you can't get any closer than 6 feet, so you might as well have water gun
Yeah,
fights.
that'd be fun. Yeah, I'm so excited for prom.
When is prom?
It's on
Or
my
else you don't have kids in high school.
We're Joyce, if you don't mind, Dr. Malone here. We're working on prom. We have some new guidance from Desi and stuff, so we have to work on that. Yep.
Okay.
I have no definitive information tonight on that.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
All right. Anything from anybody for Cheyenne tonight? We're so glad to have her here. No?
Thank you, Diane. Thank you for all your excitement. I'm so happy that you're happy to be back.
Thank you guys for having me.
Great. So we have a student showcase tonight by Mrs. Whittemire. She's the humanities English teacher, and she has students with her. So Mrs. Whittemire, do you want to introduce your students?
I'm sorry, when I rejoined with the ability to unmute myself, I couldn't really hear what you were saying.
Oh, would you like to introduce your students? And I introduced
Yes,
you as the
so-
humanities English teacher with our students here tonight.
I apologize. I can't hear what you're saying, but I will talk about what we've been working on in class. And I have several students who are going to read their poems to you tonight. I hope they're on deck. I think they're on deck. So one of the things that we work on senior year is reading pieces of literature on several levels, looking at the direct meaning and sometimes the more implied meaning or the literal and the figurative meaning. And we've been looking a lot at metaphors and how authors use them. So as one of the exercises in trying to understand how authors do that, students wrote their own extended metaphor poems known as conceits. And we brainstormed together, we drafted, they read them to the class, we gave feedback, peer editing advice, and then finally they sent them off to several publications to see if we could get them published, because that is supposed to be the final step in writing that we often don't get to, unfortunately, but I try to encourage that. And a whole bunch of them actually got accepted for publication in Teen Inc.
Oh, nice.
I asked some more students to read tonight, but they're being extra shy, but I have 3 volunteers to go tonight. Olivia Oostreicher, I have Mackenzie Taylor and Jamie Kosakowski who will read you their poems. And all of these poems have 2 different levels to them. So they have the face meaning, and then they have an underlying metaphorical meaning as well. I think Olivia is first on the agenda. Am I right about that?
I
Yeah,
can go
that's fine.
first.
That's great.
All right. This is called the, This is called the Ocean of Sound. An ocean of sound surrounds me. In my noisy room with the sand-colored walls, I am consumed. The lights flicker, the feeling deep. The pages turn like tides, my fingers trained and unknowing. The waves of noise help me escape from the sea of troubles swarming me. The inky and pearly keys slam down with force and articulation. My soul floats away. My body is drowning. I can't hear. I can't speak. I can feel it. Shh. I am drifting away, deafened by the sound I am creating. Although the moments are frail and shallow, the vibrations bring me to shore. I feel small. I open my eyes and feel the keys sweaty from the tips of my fingers. I breathe in the stuffy air and lick my lips. A piano glares at me. The noise lingers. Take me away.
Excellent. Thank you. Good job.
I believe Jamie's next.
So my poem is called I Can't Win. I have now been living the same day over and over again. As I step up to the starting line, I listen to the countdown with a pit in my stomach. There goes the gunshot. Now I can only expect the worst and hope for the best. Just left with my thoughts and overthinking the unknown. I am struggling to catch up with the person ahead of me. Instead of prancing around you in that big circle, I trip and fall. What am I doing wrong? I just wanted to leap through you, but you let me down. Gasping for air, thinking about the big day, where my ears are littered with the word congratulations, or thinking about the beautiful dance, dancing the night away and being blinded by the flashes. How much faster do I have to run? As my face turns beet red and my hands begin to drip, I realize that I have already lost so much. My legs are dragging me down as if I'm carrying the weight of the world on my shoulders. My heart is pounding in my ears and my lungs are suffering. The privileges and the lasts are only the start. I have missed out on thousands of laughs and memories. These are the days adults wish they could go back to. Too bad I will never know the beauty within the final lap. Now sprinting through the memories over the years, being surrounded by those I love, I can only hope for better days ahead. But for now, I have lost the race.
Thank you. That's excellent.
Very nice.
That was very Sylvia Plathish. I feel really bummed out right now just listening to that. That was tragic.
Sylvia Plath, right.
And then Mackenzie, I think you're last but not least.
Mine is called I'm Not Going to the Doctor Today. My hands shake. I don't want to go to the doctor today. It's lies every time saying this won't hurt. Then the biggest needle pierces my skin. This won't happen next time I come in. Poke along a bruised spine with icy cold hands. This isn't supposed to hurt me, but when I finally open up, all this stuff is shoved down my throat and I hear them sigh when I choke. No more needles anymore. Then a bigger needle than before drains me of more blood than I knew I could store. I step on the scale of frailty and see everything that failed me. The parents, the adults, the social workers, the friends. Examine my file, finally beginning to comprehend why I can't trust that cold room again. That cold room that was supposed to be warm, but instead was full of traumatizing needles, betraying hands, and manipulation meals. Say all you want, but no amount of reassurance makes up for the frequent occurrence of broken promises and trust deterrence. I can feel my own heart rate as I shake. I'm not going to the doctor today.
Very nice.
Very nice.
That's awesome. You three are super talented. All three of you, Olivia, Jamie, and Mackenzie, thank you for sharing. Those were great.
Very powerful. Thank you.
They are very talented and they're also very brave to talk about things that mean a lot to them and kind of put them on the page and share them with others, because it's really hard to be vulnerable like that. So I really appreciate that they were able to do that for my class and that they were able and willing to share that with the world.
And Mrs. Whitmire, congratulations to you for guiding and leading your students. And when you first wrote, you had, I think it was a couple of acceptances to Teen Inc. And then how many did you have total in the class? Because it
9.
Yeah, right.
Oh yeah, quite a few. So it was
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, excellent.
Thank you
Congratulations.
so much for the opportunity to share, and thank you for the students for showing up.
Well, thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for coming
Very
tonight.
well done.
I read them earlier, so I really enjoyed them. So they're quite good. Everybody else had anything you'd have for Mrs. Whitmire? Okay. We have a student, another student showcase presentation on the Massachusetts Robotics Grant Bill by Mrs. Olivia, and I'm going to mess this up, I apologize. Ostreicher, is that right? Who is
Yep,
at
that's
Air
good.
Shirley High School. Is that okay?
Yes. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
All right. So is it okay if I share my screen?
Please.
Yeah, definitely. I'll give you access to that, Olivia. Hold on. Please.
All right.
Yep, you're good, Olivia.
All righty. And you guys can hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Great. All right. Good evening, Air Shirley Regional School District School Committee. My name is Olivia Ostreicher, and I am a senior at the Air Shirley Regional High School. On behalf of the Air Shirley Regional High School Robotics Team Andromeda 1 in the Office of State Representative Dan Cena, it is my pleasure to speak with you tonight about the Massachusetts Robotics Grant Bill that we have successfully filed in the Massachusetts State Legislature. So first off, what is this bill? So if passed, the bill would provide a robotics grant program in which every public or charter school in Massachusetts can apply to receive up to $18,000 a year to help fund their robotics team, depending on the level of education. In total, the grant would accommodate for about $7 million a year in funding for STEM. For reference, STEM is an acronym for science, technology, engineering, and math. The grant would prioritize funding in school districts that are statistically underfunded and schools that do not currently have functioning STEM and robotics programs. This will help start new and sustain veteran STEM programs in Massachusetts and make it so that money is not a barrier for a public or charter school to run a team. The bill would provide funding for a school that wanted to run a robotics program from second grade through senior year of high school. As we know from the success of the robotics programs in our own district, adding even just one STEM program to a school can change the lives of the students attending. Even just 10 years ago, our own school district looked completely different without the STEM pipeline we have built in all levels of our school district. So how did we do this? Well, first of all, I have been interning for State Representative Dan Cena since August of the last year. Representative Cena actually represents Aaron Shirley in the Massachusetts House of Representatives. Through this internship, I've had the opportunity to research bills I am interested in, take phone calls with constituents, attend House Council meetings, and help the representative write letters and press releases. In addition, I have been on the high school robotics team Andromeda 1 for 4 years. The team has been running a campaign called the Mass First campaign to get a first robotics team in every district in Massachusetts. In just 1 year, we succeeded in starting about 18 new robotics teams in elementary schools, all around the state of Massachusetts that did not currently have a team. This year, I'm proud to be the student lead of the Mass First campaign. As we all know, this year has been extremely difficult for the whole world of education, and the pandemic has really impacted the robotics community. With this, I saw a need for help within the Massachusetts robotics community. What better way to help people than to write it into law? With that, I was given the opportunity by Representative Cena to work with him to file a real bill, and the Mass First campaign team on Andromeda 1 has helped me every step of the way. This was a team effort, and although I am the representative of the Mass First team speaking here today, I couldn't have been able to do it without the support of Andromeda 1 and the students and mentors on the high school robotics team. The team helped research down to the dollar how much it would cost to run a robotics team from 3 different STEM organizations for elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools. The students on the team wrote the bill and did extensive research about every single school district in the state that did not have a functioning STEM program. With all the work that we put into this, I'm so proud to say that the bill was successfully filed on February 4th of this year. Since then, our goal has been to get the word out to as many people as possible. I contacted all 200 legislators in the Massachusetts legislature, asking them to support and co-sponsor the bill. We ignited a fire in the Massachusetts robotics community by reaching out to them by email, social media, and speaking at outreach conferences. In addition, I got to publish a press release about the bill, and articles were written about this in the Air Shirley Tracker, the Lowell Sun, and the Boston Herald. Part of this outreach is actually talking to you. As of now, I'm proud to say that the bill currently has 28 co-sponsors. For reference, a co-sponsor is a senator or representative who adds his or her name as a supporter to a bill. 28 co-sponsors is equivalent to 13% of the entire Massachusetts legislative body, and there are co-sponsors from all 3 political parties represented. As you can see, there are co-sponsors from areas and districts all over Massachusetts. In addition, this bill has the most co-sponsors out of any of Representative Cena's bills. And as of last week, the bill has also been filed in the Massachusetts Senate with the help of State Senator John Bellis in Western Massachusetts and the outreach efforts of the entire robotics community. So with that, here's how you can help. We need your help to reach out to your state representatives and state senators and ask them to co-sponsor this bill if they have not already. In addition, we also need your help to reach out to other Massachusetts school committees and make them aware of this bill. There are 160 state representatives and 40 state senators in Massachusetts. The more representatives and senators that have co-sponsored the bill, the more likely it is to get passed. We would love for as many people as possible to join us and try to get this bill passed. This will help all Massachusetts schools if it becomes a law. We want to see what happened in our own Air Shirley Regional School District happen in every school district in the state. If you're interested in helping with our outreach efforts, please send an email to your state representatives, state senators, and send emails to members of school committees in Massachusetts. Feel free to use our script as a guideline for your emails, or you can compose your own email with anything else you'd like to add. If you'd like the script, please contact me at my intern email listed on the screen. If you do take action, please send me an email. I'm here to answer any and all questions you may have regarding the bill or taking action. Fun fact, Representative Sheila Harrington, who also represents AIR in the legislature, still has not co-sponsored this bill. So she is actually our next target for our outreach. If your legislators have already co-sponsored the bill, you can send them a thank you note for their efforts to help with STEM education. If you do get a reply with a question that you do not know the answer to, please refer them to the contact at my intern email. Most of the time, a reply will come from the office of the politician, not the actual politician. And if this happens, it is completely normal. And we would love to hear from you and your politicians. We encourage everyone to get involved with reaching out. You can use social media as a tool to get the word out. For more updates, please follow Andromeda One, the high school robotics team, on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at FRC4905. With that, I would like to personally thank my robotics team members, Sean Doyle and Annabelle Clements, for their help with this, as well as my mentors, Bill Walter, Christine Miska, Maureen Kilcommons, and Randy and Pamela Clements. This has been an absolutely incredible experience during a crazy year, and I have gained skills that I will be taking with me beyond Air Shirley into college and beyond. I would like to thank the entire Air Shirley Regional School District for supporting our efforts and being champions for STEM education. Not many high schoolers can say that they have filed a bill, and I am extremely grateful for this experience. Once again, if you'd like to help us with our outreach efforts, please contact me at my intern email listed on the slide. And I'm also here to answer any questions. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Olivia. That's excellent. I'll be sure to reach out to Representative Harrington for you.
Thank you.
I'll do that.
Olivia, are you still planning on majoring in political science or whatever?
Yeah, so I'm majoring in business and political science next year. So this is right up my alley.
We're gonna see some great things for you from you.
Yeah.
Thank
For
you.
sure.
Thank you.
Just one of the many things I like about it's different with the robotics program, as we've been following them since their inception. They're always helping other teams. Even when we're having an off year, having trouble, people loan equipment, they give technical know-how and a lot of support. And basically you're just increasing the competition pool. And you don't see that in a lot of places, in many aspects in athletics and a lot of other endeavors. Competition is a zero-sum game. There's a winner and there's a loser. But in the robotics world, as I get to see how it's done in the Commonwealth here and really across the country with some of the trips, is that everybody's in it, and that whole rising tide lifts all boats. And it's very happy to see the work that you're doing here, and it's going to make a significant difference to the students all across the Commonwealth. Thank you very much, Olivia. And for the first time tonight, I heard the word Olivia Ostreicher and shy in the same sentence from Melanie Whitmire. So I don't think I'll ever hear that again.
I don't think I've ever been described as shy, but that's
Right.
yeah.
Anyone
But
else?
thank you.
Yeah,
I just want to, oh,
Go ahead,
sorry.
Michelle.
No,
No,
all
but-
I was gonna say is, Olivia, who does everything well, I don't know how you do it, but here's another example of something you do and you excel at. I just wanted to thank you. This was extremely thorough, and you're doing great things. And I will be reaching out to you by email to see how I can help you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah, real quick, I just, want to say great on you for, getting that internship and building that connection with a state rep and our district. Those are, obviously friends of the district are good in the legislature, so great. And hopefully, other students who follow behind you can also, maybe take advantage of an internship or, capitalize on that relationship that we do have with Mr. Sina. So thank you very much. And obviously, thank you very much for all your hard work. It's
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you, guys.
So Olivia, I'm pretty sure that Jamie Eldridge has already sponsored this, so
Yes. Yep.
I don't need to waste my email to him.
No,
Okay.
no. We're trying to get Sheila Harrington. That's our next target. But yeah, Senator Eldridge has already co-sponsored.
Great job.
Good
Olivia.
job.
Thank you.
It's
Thank you all.
education at its best. Thank you so much for coming too. Thank you.
Thank you
no
for
one else
having
has
me.
anything for Olivia? We don't want to keep her from probably she has homework? No, forget that. It's COVID year. Public participation, item number 7. If you come on, please, we will allow 3 minutes for anyone to speak. We'll give a total of 30 minutes for the whole session. And please identify yourself with your full name and your address. Full address, please, if you come to speak. How are we looking, Michael?
At this time, nobody has left a message in the chat asking to speak.
Should we give them another minute and assume that they're still finishing dinner or something? I don't want to take too much of our time because we do have an executive session tonight and it's going to be late. So if someone sends you a critical message that we've missed them, then you can go back. But let's continue on. We have a consent agenda, number 8. We have regular session minutes for release from March 2nd, 2021. We have regular session minutes for release from March 17th, 2021 and March 17th, 2021 executive session minutes. We have a warrant memo on here. Do you guys want to does anybody have any comments on the minutes first? Seeing none, we will go, I'll read the warrant. We have AP warrant number 1126 dated 3/19/2021 for $662.07. That was credit card charges for February. We have AP warrant 1127 dated 3/19/2021 for $421,761.66, which is a biweekly payroll warrant. We have payroll warrant, AP warrant, I'm sorry. We have payroll warrant number 20 dated 3/26/2021 for $747,408.31 biweekly payroll. I will entertain a motion for the consent agenda approval.
Joyce?
Yes, ma'am.
I think if we're looking at, with the minutes, I think that the executive session, oh no, forget it. I'm sorry, I read it wrong. Forget it.
Not for release.
Yeah, no, forget it. I was thinking, so I thought the executive session minutes were mislabeled as regular session minutes, but it's not. It's the regular session. I just
Okay,
didn't
did I read
scroll
it
far
wrong?
enough.
I may have read it wrong. I'm sorry.
No, I read it wrong. Sorry. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No problem. Anybody else? Then I will entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda. Everybody shy tonight or what?
Well, so moved.
I'll
Is there a
second. Second.
Jonathan said second. Michelle, if you want to read the roll, please.
Mr. DeForge,
Aye.
Mrs. Granger,
Aye.
Mr. Leone,
I don't think you heard you, Michelle.
Mr. Leone,
Aye.
Mr. Quinty,
Aye.
Mrs. Reshoots,
Aye.
Mrs. Simmons.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. That is unanimous on the consent agenda. Thank you.
Joyce, can I just make and I'd like to, for you and for the rest of the members, I'm trying to think back on when we started the consent agenda, and I think the point with it was that it would just be, we're going to vote on the consent agenda, and if anybody on the committee had a question or a comment or wanted to pull an item out, they could. But if it was all included in the packet and it was supposed to save time, so I think overall, if we don't read the warrant memos or read anything else that's in there, then we could just sort of move along quicker. But I thought that's how the consent agenda was supposed to work. Because I know it's been probably 2 or 3 years. But all the items that are in the consent agenda are posted in our agenda. And it's just, I think we could probably, in the future, just call the vote immediately. And then if any member has a correction or would like to pull something out, they could at that time. But I think we could just go immediately to the vote.
Thank you, Mr. Quinty. We can do that. It's, I don't know, I think it's important that particularly with these Zoom meetings, where people may not be able to, other people may not be able to see these. At some point, there were actually minutes read, and this has cut it down quite a bit. If anybody else has an opinion, I would entertain it.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. Sorry,
No,
Michelle,
I was
I
just
didn't
gonna
see you.
say, I think the way Jim describes it is how I recall it as well. It might not hurt if we just did like a refresher on what the consent agenda, like what the purpose of it was. And maybe we could avoid having to, read out the I know I started reading, or I think I was the one that started reading the warrant memo amounts. But I'm not sure we need to do that. So we could probably just, kind of look into that and see if we just can take it as a whole.
I can find out some more about that. How much is kind of good to have it public. And I think Zoom makes it a little different. We're not taking up a lot of time with it. But I think if you just say the agenda consent, I can, particularly since we're going to have new members, maybe they don't feel that they can comment on the minutes or anything. So just to kind of refresh what's in there, but it's up to, I can check and see what legally we need to have to do and what other people seem to think works. Okay. All right.
And I'm perfectly aware that my discussion about the consent agenda has taken 3 times longer than the actual consent agenda.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, Jim, because that's just what I was going to say. Thank
Okay.
you. Under new business, we have Mr. Steve Kindle with us here tonight, and he has items number A and B. First is the approval of Parker School as a co-op partner, and the second is an update on spring athletics. Mr. Kindle, sir?
Hey again. How's everyone doing tonight?
We are well.
Very impressed with the
Kendall.
student presentations as always. Did a very similar lesson when I was teaching English years ago with the extended metaphor poems. So that was great to see. And I want to point out all of those are also student athletes. So I'm very proud of the academic performance of our student athletes as well. So the first thing I'm going to be asking for tonight is to enter a cooperative agreement with the Parker School for football. This would also be in addition to our co-op with Bromfield. It would provide another 4 to 6 minimum players for the football program next year and the year after. We presented to the Midland Wachusett League at our last meeting and was approved unanimously. And we just want to move forward with that to help strengthen our football program and strengthen our numbers. We've got a great numbers at our freshman and sophomore level and 8th grade level. Our numbers at the senior and junior level are a little lower. And this will give us the ability to not only have bigger numbers on our varsity team, but probably have a junior varsity program in the fall as well. So it's been 3 years in the making at minimum, 3 years for me in the making, trying to get Parker on board with us. I'm sure previous ADs have tried as well, but we were fortunate this year with Ben Benoit was able to get that approved from his school and approached me, said, yeah, we're ready to go if you guys still want us. So just asking if we could add them to our co-op with Bromfield. And it'll go to the MIA next, but once the league approves, it's usually a rubber stamp from the MIA.
I make a motion to accept Parker into the cooperative agreement to play football with us, Air, Shirley, and Bromfield.
Second.
Any questions from anybody?
I just
Yeah.
have a question.
Yep.
Go ahead, Michelle.
Oh, Michelle?
Just actually, so is this just football or would it include the cheer program as well?
I haven't spoken to Ben about cheer yet, but if they, I'd definitely be open to bringing them in for cheerleading as well, as we're trying to rebuild that program
Yeah.
as well. So that would be the next step to see if they're interested in that. But I think they would probably have some interest in that as well.
Good. Yeah, I think this is great.
That goes under
Thank
a
you.
complete, believe it or not, cheer goes under a completely different waiver process than it
Oh.
does through the Principals Association for that one. So that will hopefully come at the next meeting.
Okay. No, this is great. Thank you for pursuing this.
Yes, Steve, thank you. I just had a question. So, so when we do this, is it just continued until someone decides to pull out, or is there a time frame on
it gets
this?
renewed every 2 years. So
Every 2 years?
we renewed the Brownfield one in last spring. So
Yeah.
that's 1 year after this season. And the park one would get renewed in 2 years, as long as all parties agree to continue. I mean, as long as it's working out, my belief would be we would keep it continuing, because I don't think neither Parker nor Bromfield is ever going to host their own football program.
Right.
So as long as we need the numbers and it's working out well, and our partnership with Bromfield has been great. And I've had a good relationship with Ben through track, and I would assume our relationship with Parker would go well also. So I would love to see it continue beyond the 2 years.
No, just curious, couldn't remember how it was done. Thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah, just one quick one. I'm guessing this starts in the fall. This isn't for right
Yeah,
now.
I tried to push it through for the spring, but we didn't have enough time to get it through. So it's for the fall.
Okay.
Good.
Will they, and this doesn't impact my vote, it's just a question of curiosity. Will that bring some upperclassmen over as well, or will it
You know, I
sort of?
spoke to Ben, he thinks they've got a couple current sophomores who will be juniors and then a couple freshmen who will be sophomores. And then he believes there'll be a couple other incoming ninth graders who will play. So he said at minimum it's going to be 4 kids, but he believes it'll be closer to 6 or 8.
Oh, that's awesome. It's great. We're able to partner with them and get some more kids active.
Thank you. Did we have a second and a motion? I mean, it was a motion and seconded. Michelle, would you do a roll call, please?
Mr. DeForge,
Hi.
Mrs. Granger,
Aye.
Mr. Leone,
Aye.
Mr. Quinty,
Hi,
Mrs. Reshoots,
Aye.
Mrs. Simmons.
So that was a unanimous vote. Thank you very much, Michelle. You're still on, Mr. Kendall.
Yes, so now we're going to talk about spring sports. The nice thing about the spring sports season is it's pretty much, I mean, other than the COVID protocols, which will continue to be followed with masks and social distancing and hand washing and hand sanitizing, we will be offering pretty much every sport that we usually offer in the spring. So that's awesome. That includes our middle school sports, which will be for the first time this year, be able to compete interscholastically. So we're really happy about that. The spring sports will begin April 26th. And the regular seasons will, for the most part, end at the beginning of June with a playoff running through probably mid-June in the Central Mass. This was a good spring to kind of model a possible future playoff system. For those who don't know, the MIA as a group, all the ADs and principals voted to go to a statewide tournament starting this coming fall, meaning instead of a Central Mass tournament, you go right into the state tournament. So what we've proposed from the Midwatch League to District 3 and District 2, which is what makes up Central Massachusetts now, is a Central Mass large and small school tournament as part of our regular season. So you'd be guaranteed 2 games in the playoffs starting in the fall. This season is just kind of to get it going. You'd only be guaranteed one game. So you'd play your 16 or 18 game regular season, and then you would start your Central Mass playoffs leading into the state playoffs. So this is a kind of a trial run for it to see how it goes. So that'll start June 7th. We've encouraged all our athletes to participate in the pool testing for COVID. I know a large chunk of them, I don't have the percentage in front of me, but there was a large chunk of the fall 2 athletes and the winter athletes who participated in pool testing. And since many of them are also our spring athletes, I would assume they're going to continue, but we've been encouraging them to get involved in that. We'll continue to follow the MIEA guidelines, but our Midwatch League usually has stricter policies. We're still ironing those out, but we'll follow the Midwatch League, which will be a little stricter than MIA standards. Mask, physical distancing, hand washing will be enforced. There will be the one thing that'll be different this year. We've always done our best to keep games off Saturdays for our kids for working and just school and give them time off. This year with the condensed schedule, there's a possibility there might be some Saturday games. So I want to make sure it's clear for people. We're going to do our best not to do that, but if it rains a lot, we might be forced into it. I talked about the regular season ending. In the middle school regular season will end June 10th, just because they don't have a playoff, so we'll play an extra week there. The sports we're offering, just as a refresher, because it's been a couple of years now, high school baseball and softball, which will be a 12 to 14 game season plus playoffs. Our softball team, just as a reminder, is a co-op with Bromfield. We had approved that last year and never actually got to play together, so we're looking forward to that happening. So our opponents there will be Tohoto, West Boylston, Murdoch, Bromfield, Maynard, and Narragansett. There might be a possible game with Groton in softball simply because we can't play Bromfield in softball because they're with us. So we lose 2 games. So we're looking to play somebody close who we've played in other sports. So we can have an even amount of games for softball and baseball. Our game days for the most part are going to be Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Obviously, there'll be some changes to that with events that happen and senior events, and if those occur, we'll be moving those around, and hopefully we'll have a nice dry May. It's been a dry April so far. Hopefully have a dry May. Our coaches, same as last year for baseball, Billy Wright and Mark Goodridge. And for softball, Pete Page will be the varsity coach this year as Gwen Reimer has asked for the year off, the new baby with COVID and everything. She just didn't have it in her to coach this year. So Pete will be filling in there. And then Kim Melanson will be our JV softball coach. Our track, and I apologize for my typo on there that I see as I read this. High school track 4 dual meets plus a district meet possible and a district meet plus a possible state meet. Those will still be TBA. They've been approved by the state, but whether Central Mass will participate remains to be seen. 4 opponents there at Tohoto, Narragansett, Maynard, and Murdoch. We'll be hosting our home meets at McCurdy Track at Harvard Park, just down the road. And Bromfield was kind enough to allow us to use their facility. Lunenburg also offered up their facility, so thank you to Lunenburg as well. Meet dates will be Thursdays there, obviously weather pending, and our coaches, same 4 as last year, and Andrew St. Germain, who's joining us, he did our indoor track season this year, was the Brooks Coach of the Year at Burncoat High for the fall. He's been a veteran Fitchburg State coach. He brings a lot to the table, and he's a former student, which is also always great, former AIR graduate, so it's always great to bring former students back into the fold. High school boys lacrosse will be co-oping with Lunenburg this year after Bromfield dropped their program. I think we spoke about that last month. 7 to 10 games for lacrosse. They can't start as early as the other sports because they have a minimum of 10 practices before they begin. So Hudson, Oakmont, Monty Tech, and North Middlesex are the opponents there, and they'll play their games at Lunenburg on the turf there. And Mike Frederelli is their coach. And even though he's not one of our coaches, I know him really well. I coached him in youth hockey many, many years ago. So I know he'll do an outstanding job and has done an outstanding job with their program at Lunenburg. Girls tennis, we're optimistic we're going to have enough kids for the team. I talked with Coach Paluzzi today, and we said if we didn't have enough girls for a team, we would still run a tennis clinic for grades 6 through 10 to try and build up interest for next year. COVID was a real killer for the sport because we had 17 girls registered for tennis last year, and most of them were juniors, meaning most of them are seniors this year, and a lot of them just didn't want to play with their last year and never having played before. It's just they don't know if they want to play. So I'm still working on them, but hopefully we'll have enough. If not, we'll run a clinic in its place. And Mike has graciously, he's a great tennis coach. We're glad to have him, and he said he'd run a clinic if we can't get a team together. Unified track, 2 days per week. We'll do 2 meets with that one. It'll be Lunenburg, who we've already spoken with, and then probably Groton Dunstable, but that's listed as TBA because that's not confirmed yet. And then Nate Diffin and Mackenzie McAdams will serve as the coaches for unified track. And then middle school baseball and softball will be an 8 to 9 game schedule. Tohoto, Clinton, Groton Dunstable, Bromfield, Maynard, and Tingsboro, who they're all the same as usual, except Littleton's usually in there. But they're not fielding middle school sports this season. They'll practice at the middle school field. Home games will be at Peroni, although we're looking to maybe play a couple games up at behind Laura White as well. And our coaches are Joe Leone, coaching baseball, and Mike LeClaire, who's returning as our softball coach. So those are the sports and what we're offering, and we're really excited that we can offer a full slate. And our middle school students have done a great job of participating in our clinics throughout the year and in the high school sports where they could, but we're really happy we're able to come up with an 8 to 9 game schedule for them for baseball and softball and kind of make up for the spring that they lost completely last year.
Steve, I'd like to thank Mr. Kendall for leading us this year through our athletic program in a year that it goes without saying it was doubtful we were going to have any athletic program. So I want to thank Steve and all of those that work with Steve for running a phenomenal program this year. And we've had no issues. Students have stayed safe as well as their coaches. So thank you, Steve, for all your work.
Yeah, it's gone really well, and there's a lot of people behind the scenes, and I don't want to forget him, but Bob Briggs's crew has been awesome through the whole thing. And then the kids have really stepped up. I mean, Michelle knows because she watched it at the volleyball match the other night after the game. They set all the desks back up. They moved the desks for practice. I mean, kids will help out during the day. If I need help, I'll be in there moving desks, and the kids will step up and come in and help out, whether it's out of a PE class or out of Ingenuity. They'll come in and in 10 minutes, we can move the whole gym. We've got it down to a good science. And then Erica Crawford has been great with, and Mike too, with Mike Tebow and Anthony with helping set up the live stream, which although it has its limitations, it's been a real lifesaver so people could watch their kids play. So we're very happy that we were able to get that. So thanks to the tech department for their help there.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Kendall. We know how difficult this was, and thank you for coming to all these meetings and giving us all the updates. It really helps for everyone. Has
I'm
anybody else
happy to
had
do
anything?
anything, get the kids outside and get the kids playing and moving. I think it's been really good for them, and just appreciate all the support we've had from everybody. And I want to also point out, they don't often get on here, but the robotics program is always in there too, and it's nice to see them. There was a night last week where the parents came in for the first time, and the robotics were in there, and it was just like a normal night at school. I mean, other than the masks, we had a lot of parents in the building. We had games going on, with robotics going on in the media center. It was nice to see the kids just normalcy. And then the first 2 days back, obviously seeing the cafeteria full and the gym full with kids for
There you
lunch.
go.
Just nice to see everybody back.
Anybody else, anything from Mr. Kendall?
I was
Thanks
just
so
going to
much.
echo my
Thank you,
thanks.
Michelle.
Yeah, I was just going to echo my thanks. This has been a really hard year for everyone, especially our students emotionally, and them having the opportunity to play sports, I think has been huge. So I just thank you and your staff for pulling together this season, each season, so that our kids could participate and at least boost some of the spirits that have been sinking in quarantine. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Next item is item C, Michelle Granger, vacancy on the DEI committee, advisory.
Yes, sorry,
committee.
just took a sip. So Mr. Palizzi has stepped down as a member of the the DEI. So there is that vacancy. So I think, it's going to need to be filled. But looking over kind of the documentation that was done when the DEI was formed, it talks about members and the tenure of members. It looks like the tenure for committee members will be 1 year unless the member is reappointed. So it looks like the school committee will need to address, the vacancy. I'm wondering if at this point where we're nearing the end of the school year, we want to hold off on filling that seat and maybe fill it in the fall when we start back up. And I think, honestly, that the school committee really needs to take a look at the formation document and really kind of narrow the scope of what the DEI will be working on, what the mission of the DEI is, not narrow the scope. I don't mean it like that, but define the scope, because I think, there's some frustration and confusion and on everybody's parts about, what the DEI, what their role is and what their goals should be, and what the school committee envisions for them. So I think it's something we kind of need to do some more work on.
Say something about basically all subcommittees get reorganized when we reorganize the committee in May.
Well, I guess, so this is the first time, and this is the first time I've been a part of an advisory committee. As far as I know, in the 10 years I've been on school committee, this is the first advisory committee we've had. Right. So I think we've struggled as a board to kind of clearly outline what exactly the DEI is and how they relate to the school committee and how the school committee, how we all work together. So I think that, it's been a difficult year for a lot of different reasons, but I think, that's part of some frustration is that there's no clear goals and in clear terms about when do we reorganize. Like all those things aren't really clearly defined. It says, that they're members for a year term, but when's the beginning, when's the end? All those things aren't really clearly defined. So,
yeah, you're right.
I think that needs some work.
Okay, thank you. We don't have
Can I-
anyone who's
I
volunteering
just
to
have a
be on.
question.
Cheryl?
Yeah, thanks. So I definitely agree, Michelle. This time of year is going to be really hard to think about filling positions when we haven't really defined when those positions should run. The fall makes sense because you're not in the budget cycle and you're not thinking about MCAS and graduation and all those things that come in the spring, town meeting and all that. I wonder also whether the makeup of it, like the two people have stepped down, and is that because that it hasn't been really clear about what the goals of, not the goals, the tasks for like a task committee are, or is it that there's not enough members because there's the feeling that there's too much work? I think certainly with the school committee really defining it better would be helpful, because I think my intention or my interpretation of this was that there was going to be some really kind of clear steps to take. And I don't think we actually ever really defined that, because this is, in my experience here, this is the first time that there's been a advisory committee as well. So I think it's like, it needs to start with us about what we're looking for. I think a lot of what we're looking for has already started with some PD and other things, but at the end of each meeting, I feel like there needs to be something that they're attaching to what we are looking for the district as well. So I just don't know when the best time, like, should we define it better this spring so that when elections are over and there's a solid school committee, the new school committee, and then do we do it right at the beginning, appointing people in the fall? I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
So I don't really have any thoughts. I guess I'm just looking for, how everybody feels on it. I like it, like you did point out, we do have elections in May, and we have 2 school committee seats that will be filled by new people. We also are hiring a new superintendent. So I think there's going to be, new leadership and new members of the school committee that I think may be able to bring some different perspectives and maybe, different ideas. So I think that's a good thing. So I would say at least, the new membership, I would say holding off until then. I mean, as this is worded, it's supposed to be 2 school committee people on the roll. I mean, on the subcommittee or the advisory committee, I'm sorry. So, we're already not following that because we don't have, 2 people. So I just think, I'm leaving it, opening it up to everybody to kind of see where everyone, what everyone else thinks, but I'm just, updating the group about this vacancy and kind of asking how people want to move forward with filling it. And again, I'm expressing the, kind of the need for, a clear definition of what is the role of the DEI. And I don't say any of that to minimize the work that they've done. I think that the meetings, that I've attended have been great and the conversation's been good. And, they have suggested PD, and they've drafted the survey. And so there certainly is good work coming from the group. I don't mean to make it sound like that. I just think that moving forward, if we want, literature to be looked at, or professional development opportunities, or whatever it is, it would help everybody, the DEI especially, to know what it is they should be focusing on.
Thank you. So this, the way this is summed up, I think, if I'm listening to Cheryl and Michelle, is that, and mentioning the fact that we'll have a new superintendent, this obviously leads to, we need some summer work done. And this could certainly be on the agenda for a summer workshop, in addition to getting on board with the superintendent and a few other things. So we have done those in the past, do it meeting in the middle of the summer. This is obviously something that we need to put on that list to work on. So if anybody has any other ideas, it'd be great. But this, Michelle is giving us this vacancy tonight, and I don't think we're in a position to fill this tonight. You feel that, Michelle?
Well, I think the process that we used in the past was to solicit from the staff interest. And that has not been done, as to my knowledge. So no, we wouldn't be looking to fill it tonight, because we'd have to give people an opportunity to express interest in serving. So I just bring it up to make you aware.
Yeah, thank you.
And to kind of see how everyone, wants to fill it.
Madam Chair, if I may, go ahead.
Yes, please.
I was
Dr.
just
Malone?
going to say that I think
Dr. Malone was recognized.
probably, is it me?
Go ahead, Mr.
I'll-
And I'll go after you.
Okay. I just wanted to say that I think we should probably take the time between now and the summer for the 4 remaining committee members and the 2 new ones when they come on to figure out if there's something we can do to be more specific in our task requirements that we'd like the subcommittee to do. I think there were 3 things that I'm amazed that the committee has been able to do what they've been able to do so far. I mean, one, that we didn't really give a really strong direction on exactly what we wanted to do. That makes it difficult. You've got the country at this point, for the last year, pretty much in a medical and social upheaval, and then having to do this type of committee work on Zoom. I mean, electronically, it's those 3 things together. It's amazing that that the committee is able to do what they've been able to do so far. So I think we're looking at a little bit different world when we come into the fall, and we should probably take a look at, what we want for membership. And at that point, but we should avail ourselves of the opportunity this summer to try to figure out if there are more particular tasks. If we were going to have any meetings, future meetings, or anything else over the summer, I would limit those to trying to get more specific measurable tasks that we could have the committee focus on for the rest of the year. So that would be my suggestion.
Dr. Malone?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just looking to the policy that the school committee has on advisory committees to the school committee. So I would certainly have the committee defer to your policy. And as far as the staff members, appointments of staff members to the committees will be made by the committee upon recommendation of the superintendent. And I think the process that we used before is I sent an email to the staff and solicited interest from the staff to serve on the committee. So at this time, to Ms. Granger's point about we're nearing the end of the school year. So at this time, to solicit from staff, I believe, speaking with Ms. Wilson, that there's maybe 4 meetings left of the school year. And then it'll be breaking for the summer. So I think that's a good decision. And I would recommend to the committee that you defer to the policy that you have set up, because it does give some guidelines that you can maybe work as a foundation or framework as you begin the work this summer. Thank you.
May I add a comment?
Yes, please, Mr. Leone.
Thank you. I think the advisory committee it has done tremendous work, especially since Lorraine has joined it. I'm not sure, according to the advisory committees defined by our policy, that there needs to be any specific number of school committee members on there. All of the things that this advisory committee comes up with are suggestions to the school committee for things that they believe or would like to see happen. And as you know, they've already made some outstanding suggestions with respect to PD and books that we put in the library and different things. So, you know, they bring them to us. I don't know that we really need to have school committee members there at you know, assigned. It's obviously wonderful to have school committee members on this committee, but Lorraine, she's been unbelievable with the group, and I think they're going to continue to do their work. The number one thing in that thing is that the work is ongoing, and we know that this issue of equity and diversity and inclusion is never going to go away, and this committee needs to continue in some form or another. But I think assigning a school committee member right now, since, you know, two of us are leaving and there's so much else going on. You know, Jonathan and I have been at search committee meetings, you know, 4 nights, and we've got 2 more nights this week. It is a lot going on. So assigning someone, I don't think is necessary at this point.
Thank you.
If I may, Madam Chair.
Yes,
I was
please, Jonathan.
add in here, you know, sort of to echo what Joe and Jim have said, a couple of different things here. One, it is an ongoing thing, and I would hate to see the summer lost to not working as a committee, either, you know, between the school committee and the DEI committee or the DEI committee as a whole. Just because I think it doesn't need to be maybe perhaps as strict of a cadence. However, I think that some good can come out of the summertime work. And then just to add on to that, if there's any way possible to do something in person, to sort of what Jim said about, you know, we're all zoomed out here. Like if we can do something in person, or if there's a way to do an in-person meeting, or whatnot, workshop, as you talked about, Joyce, when we are able to be outside in warmer temperatures and not freezing like we were yesterday morning. I really think that would be beneficial, just to take Zoom out of it for a couple hours and maybe let some non-forced interaction work, and maybe come together a little bit that way, and help develop those common goals. Because I agree that we need to have, you know, some clearly defined ideas or goals going forward to make this really work for all parties involved. So.
Okay, thank you, Jonathan.
Can I just
Anyone
add one
else?
more thing,
Sure.
Joyce? So
Please.
just as a follow-up to what Jonathan said, you know, I think it might actually also be a good thing to have some sort of a joint meeting between the school committee and the DEI at some point when we do have a better handle on, like, if we have, you know, worked on what the goals would be, to have a joint meeting to talk about it, you know, so that we can all kind of be on the same page and talking about it at the same time. And if we could do that in person, that would be great.
Okay.
But we've never really met with the DEI, and, you know, it might be helpful to kind of express any you know, clarifications in person, if you know, the health, whatever the COVID situation is for that.
No, I think we certainly can move on this, and nothing, that's a good idea, but I think this is really designating some serious summer work that we need to do. And like Joe and just mentioned, everybody working on the superintendent search and everything, people have a lot to do, and I'm not sure we can do it this month. So we are going to be meeting as a committee. Probably, I think there's probably 2 meetings on the calendar. It's probably going to be 4 before we're finished with this month, maybe more. And so if we could put this on the side, and I'm sure Lorraine has meetings planned, what, for May and June, Lorraine, or April and June? April and May, I mean?
April and May, yes.
Although I see on the on sort of the not this document that we're looking at now, but the one that sort of outlined some of the, how many members are on the committee and such, that it's, that the committee would meet once a month, but we've been meeting twice a month, so maybe that's something we can consider for next year.
Okay. All right. I don't see that we have anything that we can settle on tonight. So if anybody else disagrees with that, fine, but I think we can move on to item D on the 10-year capital plan. Dr. Malone?
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. So there was a request for the school department to produce a 10-year capital plan. And we were charged to do that. And so we started looking into that. And I have a document here for you as an outline of the work and probably looking to the committee for further direction. So beginning with the Massachusetts School Building Authority, there has already been some interest from AIR for a statement of interest to be submitted to the MSBA. Now, we're all aware of this, and the MSBA will be opening up the statement of interest for 2021 on April 20th. At that time, superintendents will receive an email with specific instructions and deadlines and things. The timeline is much different than in prior years because of the pandemic. I believe the statement of interest is going to be due on or around June 26th. Now, that doesn't mean that we have to write it for this year, but I think what I'm suggesting here is to think about that's probably going to be something in the near future for the school district, is submitting a statement of interest should the school committee vote that way, either in 2021 or 2022. Also, when you want to do major work to school buildings, as I wanted to remind all stakeholders that replacing roofs, boilers, and windows, you would submit to the accelerated repair program. That would not be something that would be solely borne by taxpayers in either community, that you would want to participate in that program. The boiler project, the Page Hill job, we did not meet the cost threshold, so that's why we've been paying for it in district. So the 10-year capital plan. So I asked Mr. Plunkett and Mr. Briggs to work on this. They did meet with a contractor and they received an estimate of $30,000 to assess the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. They call it MEP for all 4 buildings. And they're now looking for a roof analysis and working on the scope of work and cost for that assessment. So the reason why I bring it to the committee is in my opinion and recommendation to the school committee, I think it's quite costly, given that looking at the current conditions of our facilities, Page Hilltop, we have 2 new boilers being installed. And I will direct everyone to the Flansburgh report that was done in, I think, 2018. And they did a 5-year report. And at that time, they reported that the roof was in good condition at the Page Hilltop. The other thing at the Page Hilltop, we are working on replacing some windows. And that's, with our stabilization funding. At Laura White, the 2 boilers are in good working order. There's been maintenance completed in the last 7 years. And again, the Flansburgh report reports the roof is in condition at Laura White. The middle school, which is a fairly new building, the 2 boilers are in good working order. They're about 15 years old and the roof is in good condition and currently under warranty. The high school, the 2 boilers are in good working order. Of course, it's a brand new building and the roof is new and under warranty. And since the COVID, the pandemic, all the HVAC systems have been assessed. And when I give my school reopening report, and I will double up now, we had the systems repaired, assessed, and repaired and fully operational before we started school in phase 1. And prior to phase 3, I asked Mr. Briggs to have the contractor come out again and assess our HVAC system. And again, I can report that the systems are working as designed and when they were new. The Page Hilltop and Laura White, we installed brand new exhaust fans. So I give the committee this information to look at your guidance if you would, want to spend this amount of money. I don't know what the roof analysis is going to cost. When I think I can present to you a fairly good case of the conditions of our facilities, basically around the expenditures that are very costly, such as roofs, boilers, and windows. And I'll certainly entertain any questions. And I asked Mr. Briggs to be in attendance tonight, which he so graciously agreed to at the last minute earlier today. But it would be my recommendation at this time that, given that probably going to be submitting a statement of interest and the way I present the conditions, that you might want to hold off on spending that amount of money to have the buildings assessed.
Thank you, Dr. Malone. Anything to add, Mr. Briggs?
I'd just like to say that, Dr. Malone gave a good overview there of current situation with all the facilities. And that is a costly fee to help us with a 10-year capital plan. Some of the things that they could provide may help us to a degree, but that total cost is quite high. Maybe we can tone that down a little bit by just focusing on areas that we identify that we'd like to think about improving in 10 years or so. And instead of doing a full assessment of all 4 schools. I haven't talked to Dr. Malone about that yet, but she brought up a good point, and it's just got me thinking in that direction. But when I think about all 4 schools and the older elementary schools and the middle school and the high school, there's nothing that is scaring me that I'm really worried about. I have in my mind some things that I'd like to pursue replacing, rebuilding. I've got a list of those items, but I think that the Flansburgh study was really good because one of the things that they were able to tell us is that structurally we're in good shape. So obviously that would be something it's good to know that, because that would be a big expense that you didn't see coming if we had some sort of structure failure. But they showed us there that in that situation we're in good shape in our situation. So I think this, we always do our 3 to 5 year capital plan. Every year we update that, and and then now we can start looking at some of the bigger ticket items 10 years out and so on to begin formulating a 10-year capital plan. But nothing is really making me nervous. So I think that that's a good thing. And I think that, the residents of Aaron Shirley would want to know that
Well, this was a request when we were on the tours of the schools. And so I just thought we should consider it, but that does sound like an awful lot of money to put out after we had the Flansburgh report that we paid an awful lot of money for.
Yes, yeah. I was going to point that out, Madam Chair, that we spent a lot of money on the Flansburgh report and spent, quite a significant amount of money on the field and the different, plans for that. So, and for 7 years since I've been here, we do not operate on a deferred maintenance plan. When we have a problem or issue, we're right on repairing the schools, and that's been with the full support of the school committee, of course. So it would be my recommendation at this time. I think that we could present what I presented you tonight as an outline, but certainly I think it should give some assurance, to the requester.
Well, we could go back with that and then see if
Sure.
that
Okay.
keeps them quiet, keeps them quiet, makes them happy, and if it's enough for what they want. I think they were just looking to see, and maybe the Flansburgh report answered that. I think what they were just looking for, they didn't want to be any big surprises that were going to be major capital expenditures. That's
Right,
all.
right. But like I said,
It's always good for us to hear this.
Yeah, great.
And of
Sorry.
course, if you do regular maintenance and you do keep things like Mr. Briggs has been doing and taking care of it immediately, then you don't have stuff popping up. And I'm glad to hear you're not nervous.
Right.
And I think it goes beyond the regular maintenance stuff. I know that, a number of items were addressed inside the middle school that were part of the design standard that were never even functioning.
Right.
So we've done a lot of stuff, and there's a lot more capability there. So it's not like we started with stuff that was working to begin with. We've done a lot to maintain all that stuff. If I really obviously the high school and the middle school, the newer buildings, and I don't think there's going to be anything tragic, big happening there. And I'm very happy with the Page Hill, Dr. Laurie White. The only issues I ever hear and I would defer to, like, if we could do a survey with the teachers that work and the administrators that work in the buildings and said, look, if you were going to be in this building, so this is a 10-year plan, it said, if you're going to be here, say 10 years or 15 years, you're picking items like, what things do you think would make your job better? And the only thing, I don't speak to that many of the teachers in Page Hilltop, obviously, but from the Laura White standpoint, you find out that, hey, you know what, temperature control in September when it's, you get like some 87-degree days, or May or June when you get some hot days, or in the middle of the winter, certain wings have problems if the sun is out, if the sun isn't out, those types of things that sort of really affect the learning environment in the schools. I think we could probably do something longer range, but I think that would start pretty much with some sort of questionnaire and survey of the administrators and the teachers that work in there and said, look, if we're going to be here, what would make your life and your environment better in this building? And see what kind of stuff comes back. I think, overall, structurally, and from the mechanics involved, like Dr. Malone and Bob have done absolutely superior work, but there are still, things that are just a function of the design. When you put on a bunch of additions and trying to get things to work in concert, it's not always so easy. But some of those issues might be easily addressed. And if we can improve the, academic conditions, just the biological conditions for the teachers and the students, that makes their life better, then I think, the learning environment is better for everybody. And I think that could go a long ways to figuring out exactly what our long-range capital needs might be. We'll at least know what we need. We'll know what the limitations are, but there may be a number of things on there that we can do that can make an immediate change. But I think it starts with asking the question of the people who are there and have to work there every single day. They will know what the problems are.
I'd like to comment on your comment, Mr. Quinty. I agree. I think it would be a good idea to let the teachers be involved with some sort of a survey. And you're spot on in regards to the seasonal changes. When seasons change, it's a struggle when we go from heating to cooling and cooling to heating. There's that, this time of year, it's 30 degrees in the morning and 70 degrees in the afternoon. You have to have sophisticated equipment to be able to adjust to that on the fly. But give it a couple of years before we talk to the teachers, because a couple of years ago, there was so many issues with heating and ventilation in the buildings that if we surveyed them right now, they'd say, oh my gosh, that is just, it's been pretty uncomfortable. But we have really phenomenally have changed the ventilation conditions in all the older buildings, especially by replacing all the exhaust fans. We had many exhaust fans that we had some that were abandoned in place. They didn't even have power feeds to them anymore. And some were just old, and it was time for them to go and be upgraded. And we got that done. I walk through the buildings now and I can hear the air moving. I walk underneath a register in the ceiling and I hear the air. You never used to hear that. So, even at the middle school, there must have been I know that there were areas there that were very uncomfortable during the middle of the winter, during the fall. Things just weren't really working right. It was time for, to seriously address, all the things that had built up over time. But I think in a couple of years, hopefully we've softened some of those issues now with everything that we've done and the repairs and the new exhaust fans and ventilation systems that are working better. But even in the high school, there are times when you're changing over from season to season, and the extreme in the morning to the afternoon it's just tough. But outside of those, seasonal changes, we should be in pretty good shape. But it would be a good idea to survey the people that actually use the building, for sure.
Yeah, and to that point, at the middle school too, Mr. Quinty, all of the windows, they weren't functioning. So all of those windows have been repaired and are now functioning. And, we talk about the pandemic and outcomes of the pandemic, and, obviously there's been a lot of hardship for all of us, but through this pandemic and through the funding from the ESSA grants, we've used that funding to repair our HVAC system, which wasn't even a cost to the district. To do that work, we're able to charge that to the grant. So that's one positive, and to fix the windows at the middle school. So some of those, that repair work, which can be costly, we're able to charge to the grants that were issued from the federal government. So there are some good things that came out of it. And while we're on the ventilation system, so at the Page Hilltop in the Laura White, Bob, they've all been turned on. So all the fresh air changes are coming through now. We opened school with those, and then we had to have the contractor come back. And I don't think we have been doing that because we learned more through the pandemic and really had to focus on the ventilation. So now when they came back to assess the working condition of the HVAC system, turned all of those fresh air changes on now. All of the buildings are getting fresh air. Correct, Bob?
I'm sorry, I had to hush my dog.
That's okay. It's okay. You and I worked in this, so
He
we're
was
good.
saying good
All of
stuff,
all of
Bob.
our mechanical systems are providing continuous air changes in all of our school building spaces. So very happy with the.
Okay, thank you guys very much.
Well, my
Yes, Joe?
question through all of this is because I think it will affect the vote coming up on the fields. Are we thinking about a new Laura White or a new Page Hilltop?
Well, I can just, from, hearing from the elected officials, and then the school committee is, very aware of this. They've said it there at our budget meetings that they're very much interested in over a renovation, a core program for the Page Hilltop, which is what I was describing, the MSBA. That's something that the school committee will have to take up at another meeting. But I just wanted to put it on the memo, just as there's, the town of Air, they're garnering more interest in submitting a statement of interest. I've written a statement of interest before. It's quite a lengthy document. It's not real difficult. It's time consuming. That's why they give you, amount of time. I spoke to Diane Sullivan at MSBA today because I was exploring the MSBA website, and I wasn't able to access some information. Plus, when you go on it and you look at, we're region 2, and when you click on our region for Aaron Shirley, the information on there is not correct. And so I wanted to correct that information. And she informed me that they've been working on that, and that particular page is going to be coming down, and they're going to replace it. And the reason why I wasn't able to access what I was looking for is because they haven't opened it up yet, and they're opening up on April 20th. Because you need a password and a username to access the SOI. And so, that's what I found out from her. And she does wish she worked Air Town Hall, and I think she told me from 1994. She has a very good experience. So anyone in Air that knew her, she says hello. But yeah, the other thing that she talked about too, and so the statement of interest, it's actually not a Google Doc, but when you open it, because when you write a statement of interest, I mean, the superintendent usually takes the lead on writing it, but it's really teamwork, it's committee work. And she was saying today they've improved the process so that it's not a Google Doc where multiple people can work on something at the same time, but it's something where people can go in and work on it. So I could go in and work on it. A school committee member could go in and work on it at different times, but it's much easier than when I had written it before. So they're, in a continuous cycle of improvement, as we all are in this business. And so that's the update on the MSBA piece of it.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Can I just add
Good
something?
information. I'm
Chris,
sorry, Jonathan?
If you don't mind, just on the SOI, I think that if the town of Air is so inclined that they want us to submit, that's fine. I have no issue with that. But I think that they need to just fully make sure that they understand the process and the timeline going forward. And I
Yeah,
think there's also, that if you get picked, you're looking at X, Y, and Z before you're seeing this. I think that we need to understand what their goals are to come out of this. Do they want a full replacement? Do they want, as you talked about, core renovation, addition, replacement, add reno, full knockdown, tear down, whatever it is, right? I think we need to have a common set of goals. And then I think there's also somewhat of a conversation with Shirley that, there's a perception out there that everything happens in air, and good, bad, or otherwise, right? They got the new high school, the fields are going to be in air. I just think it's important that Shirley also understands the timeline, that, that we're limited here in various ways, and, that it's just, I mean, from my observation, like many others, may be that, air seems ready to go on this, and Charlie might not be so ready to go, and that's fine. It's not a big deal. It's just I don't want to, divide the district anymore. But that being said, if the town of Air is comfortable with this and the consequences of getting picked, I'd be very open to doing this. I think one of the things that they need to understand, and I'm happy to provide evidence of this, is that, in Harvard and in Groton as well, there's been issues where they've worked as a committee for 1 to 2 years to come up with a schematic design and finalize it. And then groups have come out of the woodwork, and the goal being a new school, right? A brand new school building. And the groups, and then when it gets close time to vote to approve the funding, groups have come out and voted against it because that's too expensive and that they would prefer the repair option. So I think that it just needs to be that, yes, we're going to have assurances that, yes, this is where you want to go, and that you're willing to accept that, it's going to be a more costly process to do if you choose a full school renovation, a full new school, it's going to be there, and that you need to be ready to defend that decision in a year or two when there are detractors who are threatening to derail the whole project. Because as we've seen from the MSBA, they want to approve projects that are going to pass. They don't want to tie up money with projects that are going to sit in limbo. They only have a set amount of money. They have a lot of applications. It's very competitive. It just needs to be set out that whichever town we put forth needs to understand the consequences of their decision. And I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just that, you get one shot a year at this. No need to mess it up or in a few years not be ready for your choice. So that's all I wanted to add.
yeah, and I would say I have not had any private conversations with anyone in here about this. I wouldn't, work outside the school committee. We just all know that it's, we're all aware that there is a lot of interest in air to submit this statement of interest for Page Hilltop. And, sometimes you submit your statement of interest and you don't make it in the year one, you submit it again the next year when you get, because they give you explicit feedback, how to strengthen your statement of interest and such. So it is a process, and it's a long process, and it is a lot of work, and it involves, it's not something where you just say, well, tell the school superintendent to write a statement of interest. It takes a team, and it takes a lot of collaboration. So.
Yeah, I have a Joyce. This is for Cheryl and Joe and Michelle. I mean, I have also, as Dr. Mills, at a number of meetings over the last years, just budget meetings, I have heard questions asked about when we're looking for a new building for Page Hilltop. You guys have, is there something specific with the current building that you think is driving the discussion? Is it just a timing thing? Do you have any insight on that? On where you think that might be coming from?
None at all.
Jim, I can answer. What I've heard is it's really about their infrastructure, the town's infrastructure. And I believe it has to do with, I think, like maybe some assisted living or some public buildings for air. So I think it's the grand overall plan for the town of Air and its infrastructure. And I think the Page Hilltop is part of that plan. I don't have any specifics in that, but that's, what we've heard at the budget meetings.
So there's a larger umbrella here that's.
Yeah, I think,
Okay.
yeah, and I mean, and they, when we, all of us know that at some point, looking at the elementary schools, we've been talking about it now for years, and I think that as they build their capital plan and looking at their infrastructure as a town, I mean, he is a pretty small town land-wise, they don't have a lot of real estate to work with. I think that the property, because I think looking at the Flansburgh report, when they did that assessment, the building would be reduced in size. And I think that's probably where they're looking at gaining something for the town. I can't say it for sure, but that's what I have gleaned from the conversations and what they've said.
Yeah.
I would agree with that too. I haven't heard anything specific, but I do think that they envision maybe using part of that building or the land that it's on for something, something else. And I think that, like Dr. Malone said, the Flansburgh study had a smaller building and maybe something that was a little bit further up the hill, which would free up some space that's closer to Washington Street. So I don't know, what exactly the plan is, but I think that, the real estate and the structure might be part of a long-term plan for the town.
Okay.
And that the building is a little old
Okay.
and not as efficient as a newer building would be. So it's all the short and long term.
It always is.
I think it's good that these reports show that the building is in good shape, because the only thing that I've ever heard was, well, if we want to spend all this money on a field, what about a new elementary school first? And so people use that argument, and and so knowing that these buildings are in good shape is very, very comforting.
Yeah.
Yes. And to back up what you say, Joe, is and what Jonathan said is this is, if you enter into it, it's a request for Mass School Building Authority to partner with you, and they take a look at the condition of the buildings, and they could turn you down, a couple of times, because there's only so much money and so many partnerships they can make. And let's face it, there are schools in this state that are in much worse condition than both of our elementary schools. But that said, it is kind of a long-term plan for us to update the elementaries.
I mean, it's something we always have to keep an eye on, as as we have problems or don't have problems. And if spending a little bit of money on the fields, then they haven't priced out a new building yet. Because remember, the high school was, am I right? Somebody can correct me, $68 million. So, and we were very good because of the refunds that we got from the state. But the state has politics all the time, and sometimes the money that's coming out is good, and sometimes it's not so good. So, people are getting 5% on their project or 10% on their project. So you have to keep an eye on what the state politics are, not just everything else.
We were very
And
fortunate for the high school. We got a very large percentage.
Yes, we did.
State.
Now, let me take one other overriding thing, and I guess we can move on. But the thing that I can't get out of my head is that we're going to be a net zero place by 2050, right? And you take a look at the changes that are happening with energy use. This whole global warming thing isn't about to blow over. I mean, there are a lot of very interesting materials and construction techniques that much research is getting pushed into now, because that 2050 used to seem like a long time ago, but really, I remember 1990 pretty well. So it'll probably be on us before you know it. And when you
How
take
about
a look,
1960?
so when you take a look at how long the process is for a building, if we ended up doing something to the building and it ended up getting built in 8 or 9 years, you would be non-compliant before you get done with the building. Big things are going to happen with building technology in the next 30 years. And unless there's an overriding need, it seems like it may not be a bad idea to sort of work with what you have until some more of that becomes apparent. Because, these buildings have long lives, and the building that's going to be around 30 years from now is probably not going to look too much like the building that you're going to put together if we were on a go in 3 or 4 years. So that I just got that in the back of my mind, that that's something we should consider from a school district standpoint, because, although if it is the Page Hilltop, that'd be something that would be on Ayers time, but we'd be the people in charge of operating and maintaining that building.
Right. Thank you, everyone, for all your input. If we can move on, please. The draft of the 21-20 school committee meeting schedule. Dr. Malone was nice enough to draw this up for us. Dr. Malone.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, it's really the same schedule we've had. I did add a meeting August 3rd, seeing that you may have a new superintendent and you may want to do some other work. So other than that, pretty much follows the schedule that we've been following. I will note in February, we end up having 2 meetings, the way the schedule falls for the February vacation. So that was good. Typically, we only have 1. And other than that, it's really, standard. When we talk about the 2 different locations, I think that as we move forward and we move to in-person meetings, you're going to have a Zoom component, would be my recommendation, so that you can give more public access. So you might want to think about those locations, but that's to take up at another time. So
thank you so much. That gets us started. I would accept the motion to accept the draft of the school committee meeting schedule for next year, or next school year.
I'll make a motion that we accept the schedule as presented for the school committee meetings starting August 3rd.
Thank you, Cheryl. Is there a second? Remember, these all can be changed at any moment, but it gives us a plan.
I'll second that. Yeah, I'll second.
Anyone else? Any comments?
Yeah, I think you should have meetings every week next year.
I think only if you stay on the committee, Joe. Any other comments? Michelle,
I
would
was
you
just
call the
gonna
roll,
say,
please?
when would we, if we were going to try to meet to work on DEI in the summertime, would we add that separately, or would we?
I think the very good thing to do with what we're starting off is to have a July workshop, and you can do all kinds of things at that with just even doing a review of some policies that are old and stuff like that. There's a lot of work you can get done, and
I think that would
it could be an all-day event.
As only 2 years on the committee, I think for the new members, that would be really important to have a workshop in July to.
That's just what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It would be. We've done it before, and people didn't really think they should do it, but it was really good for everybody who
I
came.
would support that, because it would have helped me, I think, to understand some of the things. And instead of having to learn it as you go along when things come up, and you don't know how things work. And
And
I think
we can have masks come in on this and facilitate stuff, and so it can be really good. Just coordinated, that's the problem. Okay, so there's a motion on the floor to accept the draft school committee meeting schedule, and it's been seconded. Michelle, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. DeForge,
Aye.
Mrs. Granger,
Aye.
Mr. Leone,
aye.
Mr. Quinty,
Aye.
Mrs. Reshoots,
Aye.
Mrs. Simmons.
Aye.
Thank you, Michelle. That is unanimous. The next item on the list tonight is approval of the 2021 non-union employee annual increase by Dr. Malone, please.
Sure, and we have a memo here. So each year, we ask you to vote to approve the an annual increase for our non-unit employees. We always follow the teacher's contract. This next year will be the last year of their 3-year contract, and so they have a 3% increase. Bill, you want to talk about the memo?
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Malone. This is a replica of the grid that we included last year. We have 3% raise on the teacher's scale and those that are above top step. And as we scroll down, you'll see the same is in place for the ASME units. All of them have negotiated 3% on the scale, and for the above top steps, they're in their second year. The ASME units are in their second year of their contract. And then down the bottom, I can't see it, but I have the CPI index for January. It's up 0.5% over the last 12 months. And also the US inflation rate, which is at 1.7% for the 1-year period. And the US inflation rate is used, they use a 12-month selection of the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, to come up with that inflation rate. So they take the last year's number in January, subtract it from the number from this year, and then they make just divide it by the former number, so it's a percentage. So that inflation rate is 1.7. So we are recommending a 3% raise for all the non-union employees. And we have that budgeted in our salary line, along with the raises for the other contract employees.
So for the non-unit people, I think the amount is about 69,000, which again, as Mr. Plunkett just said, it's been budgeted with all the other employees for next year.
Thank you very much. I would entertain a motion for approval of the 2020-21, I'm messing this up, 2021 to 2022 non-union employee annual increase.
So moved.
Who wants to
Second.
take it?
I'll defer to Joe. Joe can have it, Michelle can have the second.
Okay, I think we solved it. Michelle, would you call the roll, please? There's no other
Mr.
discussion.
DeForge?
Sorry,
Sorry. Want me to go now?
I don't see anybody jumping up and down, so I think it's okay, Michelle. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. DeForge?
Aye.
Mrs. Granger?
Aye.
Mr. Leone?
Aye.
Mr. Quinty?
Aye.
Mrs. Reshoots?
Aye,
Mrs. Simmons?
that is unanimous. Thank you, everybody. Okay, item G under new business is citizens petition and amendment of the agreement between the towns of Air and Shirley with respect to the formation of a regional school district. Mr. DeForge?
Yeah, so as secretary of the committee last week, I was informed by the town clerk in the town of Shirley that a citizens petition had been submitted in reference to amending the regional agreement as is outlined in the regional agreement. I'm sorry, I should call it the agreement between the towns of Air and Shirley with respect to the formation of a regional school district. In any case, so I took receipt of that last week, that petition, as a way to cross my I's and dot my T's. I then delivered it to both towns for inclusion on their next town meeting warrant. As you'll see in your packet, what you have is just the copies of, so the last page is the actual petition. There's a document that I signed acknowledging receipt, and then there's 2 letters from myself as secretary of the committee to the town administrators in both towns. And just as a point of clarification, in Shirley, the town administrator took receipt of an acknowledged receipt. In Air, when I called to make an appointment, they asked that the town clerk receive it. So that's why Mrs. Copeland has signed. So they both have it. I have not heard one way or another if they I believe it was submitted before the deadline for both town meetings, but I have not heard either way. I just present this to you as informational because this is not something the school committee has sponsored, but we should obviously be aware of. Mr. Tebow, if you wouldn't mind switching to 9G2, the tab there, you have, Dr. Malone and I talked about this last week, and we submitted the petition to Attorney Bresnahan for guidance. So what you have here is indeed guidance on that, at least something that we should be aware of in that, and you can read it at your leisure. That there's also language in chapter 40. Well, so first it talks about that, like if it was a schools committee sponsored petition or change amendment, Desi and the commissioner have the final say. That is still applicable here under a citizen's petition. And then Attorney Bresnahan also made note of, Mr. Tebow, if you can scroll down some, chapter 71:14D also does provide some additional language around this. So I will let you read that at your leisure. I did respond back to Attorney Bresnahan, and I will forward you his response as well. But my question was to be, what is the school district's role in this? Obviously, we have a very vested interest in this. However, what role do we play? And so I'll let you read his response. I will send it tonight to everyone. But his suggestion was to just continue, and if we had any further questions that we could ask him, and he would, if necessary, get Desi guidance as well. So that's where it stands. Just want to keep everyone informed.
Thank you, Jonathan. So then, anybody have any questions or comments? Okay, thanks for the information, and we'll move on with that.
Oh, I might just, if I can just add real quick. The hard copies of all those packed things that are in your packet that were signed, those are all with Michelle Town, safely in her most greatest file cabinet ever. Actually, I have no idea, but they're with they're with Michelle. I didn't want to have anything happen to them, and obviously with my tenure being coming up to an end here soon, where there is some overlap. So Ayerstown meeting is April 26th. Shirley's is May 10th. There's some overlap there, so I just wanted to have the documents in place there. So if anyone needs them, that's where they are.
Okay, that's where they should be, probably. That's a good idea. And they were your responses and stuff were included in the packets tonight to the town clerks. Thank you very much. That was very good. Anybody else? Okay, not seeing anyone. Ongoing business, there is none, and we are to the wonderful excitement of reopening the schools in Dr. Malone's report, and I think that's all what we've been waiting for.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. So yesterday we reopened our schools for the first time since March 13th, which was the last Friday we were in school. Yesterday for a full 5-day schedule, and we all went to the buildings. I invited elected officials and of course school committee and the police departments and fire departments, and they all came and clapped in the students, and it was really, really a delightful morning, and to see the joy and the excitement in both the students and the parents. It just really warmed one's heart. I know Joyce, you were there, and everyone that was there, it was very emotional. And so many thanks to the town officials and the PDs in Erin Shirley, the fire departments, Erin Shirley, select board members, town clerks came. So it was really good. And we had our welcome back signs, and it was great. I also put in your packet numbers. So about 80% of our students are back. Mike, you might want to call that director if you don't mind. Just give you the district cohort breakdown. You can enlarge that. So bottom line is overall, about 80% of our kids are back. Our highest percentage of in-person learning is at the middle school. 85% of the students at the middle school are in person, you can see. So the way you read this chart is looking at the middle school, for example, so grade 6, 124 students are in person, which is 88% of the total enrollment in grade 6. We had 12 students come back from remote into full in-person, 16 students still remain. So there was a decrease there of 12. When you see the numbers not add up, you'll from a decrease, it's because we had some new students enroll. So for example, if you look at Laura White, the total amount, we had 29 students moved in person and only 28 from remote, but we had a new student register. So I think the numbers are pretty strong. The high school just enrolled last minute. I think we had 7 more students come into school from remote to in person at the high school. Any questions on enrollment?
I've spoken to some other districts, and when I say we have 80% and even 75%, they go, wow, that's really good.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Yes, Joyce, you know, we've gotten a lot of praise, accolades about our whole approach to this school year from many. And again, thanks to the school committee for all your support and your great suggestions and feedback on this school year. Our food service department, you know, worked like a charm. The principals did an excellent job in the building, setting up the food service portion of the day. As you know, it must remain at 6 feet. So in our buildings, if you were to come in our buildings, everything is at 6 feet in the corridors. Of course, we have really long lines now. So a lot of times, like today, I'll go outside the office when the teachers are bringing the students down, and I'll take over and watch the students so the teachers can go to lunch. So the line is really long. So today we're going to make some adjustments. One of the things I addressed the whole district yesterday is a welcome back. That's thanks to Zoom. And, you know, I said, we're going to lean in and we're going to go slow. And it takes time for everybody to adjust and to make the adjustments to areas where we need to make them. Transportation, again, it went really well. We're still working on verifying ridership and seating. It's very important that we have assigned seating in all of our classrooms and on our buses. Obviously, if we have a case, a COVID case, which I'm sure we will, you know, we'll be able to do the contact tracing. As you know, I send out a report every Friday. We haven't had any cases in the last 2 weeks, which is amazing. And all of our pools through last week have been negative. Today, we went to the 1 testing day. In the past with our hybrid model, Panthers were tested on Monday and the Prize students were tested on Tuesday. But of course, everyone's back, so it went very quickly today. We decided not to do it on Monday with all the students returning, and they did a great job in the buildings. I went up to the Page Hilltop and submitted to my testing today as well, and it went really well. So around, you know, health and safety, it's still number 1, of course. You know, the biggest change is that in the classrooms where, you know, 3 to 6 feet, most classrooms are around 3-4 feet. I've gone into a lot of the classrooms and they're full of students. The buildings are noisy, the lines are long. It's just amazing. It's been amazing. It's a surreal experience. We already talked about the ventilation and again, you know, opening windows and classrooms on the buses. And again, I'm going to say it, we've said it all year. We've done this district. I mean, we've done just a wonderful job. Our teachers, our parents, our students, you know, staying home when ill, wearing our masks at all times, washing our hands, cleaning and disinfecting, and keeping our networks tight. And with those things in place, and now we have our pool sample testing, I'm very confident that we'll continue to do well in our schools. And, you know, I'm sure that we will have a case but pool sample testing, the Department of Education, I don't know if I've already said this, so pardon me if I'm being repetitive, but they are going to fund testing through the end of the school year. So we will in turn continue the pool testing through the end of the school year. And as Mr. Kendall, we are encouraging families that have athletes to take part in the pool testing, because I just want to remind, you know, that we have some strong feelings and opinions from our families about submitting to the pool sample testing, and I respect everyone's decision and everyone's opinion. Everyone's entitled to that. But the most important piece about the pool sample testing is that it identifies asymptomatic individuals. And that's when you can have, a super spreader, when you have individuals who have it and do not know it. And that's why we strongly encourage that, that if our students and many of our staff could submit to that, it'll identify any cases. Because we know when you're sick, we're staying home. So any questions on the opening?
Dr. Malone, I think I probably speak for the whole committee when we've seen all the work that's been done by everyone in the staff and Mr. Briggs' group. Even watching the office do seating things, and Sue Parker getting all the lunches and everything ready. And I think we're so far ahead of which is so good for the kids. We're so far ahead of many other districts. So everybody should be applauded, because it's been an awesome job.
Well, thank you very much. And I would say, and my team knows well, I have 3 stages: thinking, planning, and then executing. And last year when we started our Return to School Advisory Board, I mean, we planned for this. We planned for, as we were directed by the commissioner, hybrid, full remote, and then return to full in person. And so we've been prepared all along the way. The custodial staff, I mean, everybody's worked hard. People are tired, I will tell you that. The teachers stay when the students are being dismissed. I mean, it's been tiring, but I cannot speak enough, and I could get emotional, but the staff in this district is, they just rally and they support one another, and they support this district and the students, and we have made it work. From Steve Tully, the union president, to all the teachers. I mean, you read the news, you've seen the pushback, and our teachers have been very cooperative, and the students are number one. And I'm without words. I really am. So I'm going to leave it at that. So a big thanks to them for just being supportive and saying, okay, we're going to go back, and working with their principals and the parents. You're very fortunate.
Well, we know.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Mr. Quinty.
I just have 2 observations and one comment with the my students going back there. There obviously people are thrilled. When you think about it, some of these kids that are alphabetically challenged haven't seen their friends in over a year because they're on the other side of the alphabet. And that's, when you're a teenager, that's a long time. And so they were just off the chain happy with that. And Sierra wants to have Mr. Christie take a look at next year, even if we're not using masks, that all the classes should get outside mask breaks, even if they're not wearing masks. That would be very important. The only comment I had, I was looking through the boilerplate from DESE on recommendations on going back, and on page 9, it says for short periods of time, 15 to 20 minutes, students may face each other for turn and talk. And this could affect us in the high school, because with Mr. Christie's background, it said that the students during this time period should refrain from singing. So we don't want them to turn to each other and turn it into a giant musical, because I know he's got a big drama background.
Yeah. Yeah, the fresh air and the breaks are really important in the students, and those are some of the things that we're going to hope, or I would hope, I won't be here, but that will be retained. Those breaks. Like yesterday, I went up at Page Hilltop, and one of the teachers had the 2nd graders, and they were in the cultural arts room, and they were all sitting down. They had gone out in the morning, but they had a different space. They were 2nd graders, and the kids were just in their chairs, and they were talking, and they were moving, and they were really animated. And then one child broke his tooth. And so I said to the teacher, "Do you want? I'll take him to the nurse." And he was so cute. He had banged it and whatnot. But it's just, I can't be more proud and of the staff in this district. I just can't. And the cooperation, and for the remote students, I mean, we made a big deal about the opening, as we should. And I certainly respect parents' choice about, keeping their children remote. But I would say to the parents of the remote students that how fortunate they are that the teachers in this district said, we want to be the teachers of those remote students. And that is not easy. The teachers in grades 6 through 12, they're still teaching remote students with their in-person full classes. And that is kudos to the staff, because the other option was that those students would be in a learning management system, which would be basically external to us. And there's been, I think I've said it before, there's been a lot of trouble with the two management systems that were recommended by DESE with connectivity and a host of other issues. So, the remote students and their families should feel, very fortunate that their children are in a district where the teacher said, no, we want to be the teachers of record. We don't want our students to be on a learning management system.
That's true.
So
that's very good. Everything's just really good. And
yeah.
I feel that when they were saying, some districts were saying, well, we don't have to go back until May, whatever it is, for the high school. I'm like, the year's over. So, the high school kids are just as anxious to get back as the rest of them, but maybe they don't demote it. And it was so good to include all the town people in with that opening day. And I think we had the firemen and the policemen and the town clerk and a few other people staying there. And I think the middle school kids were like, huh? But it was so much funny, they're like, what? The grade school kids were like waving and everything. But I think, middle school kids are middle school kids. So
yeah, but they all loved, even the high school kids. I saw the two Quinty girls come in yesterday, Kat and Sierra, and everyone was like, oh my God, they were just in awe. And the chief of police both came out. I mean, it was a really good showing. We sent an invitation, so I was very pleased with the response, and certainly understand that people have other commitments, and the people that could make it, and that's wonderful. And we all know everyone was there in spirit and in heart. So thank you very much. And I'll just move on real quickly. My other comments, we did have a full day of PD last week, and we started out, not a full day, we had a professional development day. Part of the day was devoted to preparing for the opening, but in the morning we had Dr. Cleese Warnham present defining cultural proficiency, and the staff loved it. It was an excellent presentation. She is a wonderful presenter. She is engaging. She has a sense of humor. So it was a good way to start the full in-person, because she really talked about, every student and getting to know students and a host of other things. So it was really good. The MCAS update, and I will be getting some information out to the parents or the principals will, but there has been some decisions made. The commissioner is recommending to the Board of Education that the competency determination be modified for students in 11th grade so that they will not be required to take the MCAS test. And we haven't been informed when that board meeting is, but I'm sure the board, will probably approve that. The 10th graders will still be required to take the test this year, and the 9th graders would take the science. And then the students in grades 3 through 8, they reduced the test time by 50%. I think I mentioned the students in grades 3, 4, 6, and 7 will take one session of ELA, one session of math. And then the students in grade 5 and 8 will have an additional science session of science. And they are going to offer a remote option for the students in grades 3 through 8. We haven't gotten any more information. They're going to hold the training and such for that. The current juniors and seniors will still take the test this spring to qualify for the Adams Scholarship and the Koplik Certificate of Mastery. And if the juniors don't participate this spring, they'll be able to test for scholarships during the retest period in the fall of 2021. So there have been some modifications made. And I don't think I told you that the high schools, the NIAS decennial visit is scheduled for next October 24th through 27th, 21. There'll be more information for you on that. And with respect to the high school prom, we did get some guidance from the Department of Education. I'm working with Mr. Christie and how we can align and still have something for the kids and still adhere to the guidance. And then the field project, we are holding a public forum for the citizens of Shirley on April 28th. It will be an in-person as well as a virtual event. And once I define the number of participants that will be let into the middle school in the auditorium, I will have some kind of sign-up process or something. And then those that can't get in will have access through Zoom. And that completes my report.
Thank you very much. Anybody comments or questions? Thank you, Dr. Malone. Thank you very much.
Sure, thank you.
Only fun ahead, right? Okay. Item number 12 is Lorraine Wilson with the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a few things. First, I wanted to thank Mrs. Granger for her thoughts earlier about the committee and the guidance sort of needed to move forward. I agree that that's necessary, and I think some potential work over the summer. And I also appreciated Mr. DeForge's comment about perhaps having some opportunities or an opportunity at least to get together in person, as many of us have not met in person. And I think that sort of brings a different dimension to it. I also wanted to thank Dr. Malone for inviting Dr. Khalees Warnham to talk to the staff about cultural proficiency. I feel like it gave us all a lens through which to view not just what has happened during the pandemic, but also sort of moving forward and working with students from different backgrounds. We have 4 meetings left for the school year. April 15th, so next Thursday evening is our next meeting. April 29th, May 13th, and May 27th. And I think that's it for my report.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from anyone? Okay, thank you, Lorraine.
I
Thank
have
you
a
very
real
much.
quick,
I'm sorry, Cheryl, I didn't see you.
Sorry. I don't know if it was the last meeting I tuned in. I unfortunately was only there for about 10 minutes before I got called away by a phone call, but there was a presentation somebody was making on LGBTQ, and I didn't know if something came out of that the plan was to do a presentation with a group, and then is that going to then be presented to some of our older students, like at the high school level, if that was the plan. The short, I never made it back to the meeting, but the part I did see was very good. It had some nice slides, and if the thought was to do some sort of presentation for kids and staff that were interested, that would be great. If that wasn't the thought, I would suggest that. I think that would be a really nice addition at some point.
Sure, and that's something I can bring to the DEI task force at each of the schools, just to because not I think there was a person from each of the task force at that meeting, but I think it's a good idea to talk about it. I've been asked to go to Page Hilltop to talk with one of the counselors in administration about the topic, and I've definitely been working with the GSA at the high school. But I think that you're right. There was a lot of good information in that presentation, and sort of bringing that information to the students and the staff is something we should think about ways to do that.
Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you, Lorraine.
You're welcome.
Our pleasure. And so item 13 is policy subcommittee report, Mr. DeForge.
We're still waiting to hear back on, what is it? Sexual harassment policy from the attorney. And then I guess similar to what Michelle talked about earlier, I guess, the committee will need to decide what policies they want to take up over the next year, which ones are important to start looking at and whatnot. I don't foresee any real great amount of time between now and May that I'll be able to commit to meeting. So I don't know who wants to do what. But that's something we need to think about as well. I think we talked about it earlier. There's some policies in there that should be reviewed, but we should get on some sort of cadence to do that.
So since we're looking at quite a bit of work in the rest of April, then maybe we should put on our thought calendar for say the end of May or so, designating these, and then we could work on them in the summer we could get Massachusetts Association Committee to work with us on them, and that would be very, very solid work. So you're right, it's going to, with town meetings coming up the rest of the month and things like that. So, yeah, no, that's a big policy, and hopefully we'll maybe be able to iron something on that before the end of the month. If we can get something back from you, it's with the lawyer right now, right?
Correct.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, can I ask a
Mr.
question?
Leone?
Thank you. I don't know if this is appropriate to ask at this time, but it's because of policies and thinking about the fact that that there's no time for us to meet on this committee and that committee. And is there any thing in the agreement that says there will be a six-member school committee? Is it possible to have to change that, to have a larger school committee?
No, that's actually in the original agreement.
So, but could that be amended? I'm just asking. I don't necessarily want to do it. I'm just saying, is that possible for that to be amended?
Generally, when you listen to people, and I'll see what Massachusetts Association of School Committees, when you start adding people, you start having a lot of absenteeism, and sometimes you have trouble getting your quorum. So it can be an interesting problem in another direction. So, you know, right now with COVID, this was an extra hard year for everybody in every aspect of our lives. And I don't know that we can use this as the representative year. And Michelle has been on here. Mr. Quinty has been on here for quite a while. I'm looking to see who else is here. And, you know, usually it doesn't progress at this pace with this pressure. So it's tricky to jump into something and then you wouldn't have enough people showing up. You wouldn't have your quorums. But I think right now this is described in the regional agreement. Am I wrong on that, guys?
No, it's in the agreement, yeah.
Yes.
And then there's a process of making that amendment, but it's something to consider.
It is.
I don't think this is the year to consider. I think you have to take a deep breath for a few minutes.
I was just going to say the same, and it is a volunteer position that requires a lot of time, and we've seen historically that there's not a lot of contested races. So maybe if we were to open it up to a larger board, we'd see more interest, but to this point, we really haven't seen that. So, you know, I don't know. I just don't know how successful we'd be at getting 2 more people per town to do it.
Madam Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
Just getting back to the policy piece, I you know, there's definitely things that are pressing right now with hiring a new superintendent and getting through town meeting, but I think it would be good to get on the agenda to really look at what specific policies that are really need to be reviewed and revised. The one that really sticks out to me is internet use, specifically with social media, and how that has changed so rapidly that policy needs to really be updated. But to reach out to Mass Association of School Committees to really put something in place to really look at 5 or 6 that need to be updated sooner than later, and reaching out to them to support us with that. So maybe we can put that on. Everybody can sort of send you some the top policy. I don't remember if we already put the a list together,
Actually,
but they're
Mr.
really
Quincy
top,
did.
top ones.
But
I
it's
know
always good
top,
to make that suggestion.
yeah, like really, if, you know, what are the top 5 that you think need to be looked at, hopefully by, you know, by the fall? That would be great.
Cheryl, you've just given us 2 days, 2 full days to work this summer. Thank you so much.
You know, we're all itching to get outside. We'll just grab our beach chairs and put it in a big circle and, you know, one of the fields somewhere.
Well, we might not even have to do that by the time we get till July, so who knows, right? So
Yeah.
it'd be nice if there was a pool in the middle, but anyway. And not just a baseball field someplace. No, all this is good stuff that we need to work on. And Mr. Quinty has a list that he felt about things that needed to be reviewed every year. And so we can, I will go to Mass Joseph school committees and see what they want to do. We can actually hire them to do a review of all our policies, and that might be something that we need to do. So we can bring that up at maybe even the next meeting with some information. Okay. Mr. Quinty, do you have something on recycling and waste reduction?
Well, I just wanted to take the marked up copy that we talked about last time. I'll make the changes that were recommended last. And then I wanted to know if Dr. Malone was able to reach out and to the building principals to see if they thought recycling was a type of thing that they would want to have the student councils take a look at or not.
Mr. Quinty, you know, I think it's the first time I probably didn't follow up with something. Let me, yeah, I will. I'm going to write my list right here. Recycling with the principals. Let me get back to that. I know that we have discussed it in the past, and I know it's always the problem with the, you know, the students keeping the recycling and the trash separate. That's always been a challenge, and particularly in the CAF and even in the classrooms, but I will get back to them on it, and I'll get back to you. I'm sorry, it's just we were kind of busy.
No, that's fine. And I wanted to keep this on here because I want to get back to Lori Sable. I mean, she has a more thankless job than her, really. I mean, so what I'd like to do is I'll make the changes that were recommended last time, and I'll leave out the I think Jonathan talked about, you know, the part of an annual evaluation, all the changes we talked about last time. We could strike that stuff, but then maybe I'll make those changes and we'll bring it next week. And I'm also going to reach out to Lori to have her review what I have so far, because she has certain things that she has to have in here that make her be in a position where she can apply for the grants that are necessary. So I just want to make sure that I wanted to run this by you guys, and I have, and I got your feedback. I'm going to run it by her, and then I'll put something together that I think we can probably pass next time, so we can meet her schedule. And even if we have to, you know, come back to make changes later on, those types of changes, this is a simple policy, and those types of changes will be easy to make.
Right.
But I'm going to take my stab at something that I think we can approve for next time. So I'd like to count this, Joyce, as our second reading, and then I'll put something together next week, and everybody can put their eyeballs on it, and I'll let you know what the feedback is from Lori, and hopefully we can pass it next time.
Yeah, because it seemed like she just needed the fact that we had a policy was the first requirement that she had, and we had a policy.
Yeah, there were certain words that she had to have in there, and I'll punch that up, and we'll just review it next time. I'll make sure that it meets her requirements, and then we all can take a look at it and make sure it's what we need to do. Even if we have to come back and revisit it, that's okay. But I just want to give her something so she can meet her timeline.
Yeah, thank you.
And Mr. Quinty, if you didn't mind, once those changes are made, do you mind me sharing it with the principals so they could actually see it themselves? Okay, I think that would be good. Then it's more substantive to them. Okay, perfect.
Good.
Thank you.
And I'm sure Mr. Briggs might want some input on this. So
sure, good suggestion, Joyce.
Okay, thank you. I have no chairman's notes tonight. Are there any other topics for discussion not reasonably anticipated 48 hours in advance of this meeting? Hearing none, I would ask for communications.
All right, I'm coming. Thank you, Mr. Tebow. Make my life a little bit easier here. All right. So Wednesday, April 7th, tomorrow, 90-minute early release dismissal times, 12:50 p.m. for high school and middle school, and Laura A. White, Page Hilltop, 1:45 p.m. Monday, April 12th, report cards issued for grades 9 through 12. Wednesday, April 14th, 90-minute early release dismissal times, high school, middle school, 12:50 p.m. LAW and Page Hilltop, 1:45 p.m. That's the last of our early release days regularly scheduled. Thursday, April 15th, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Subcommittee meeting, 7 p.m. via Zoom. Monday, April 19th, no school and observance of Patriots Day. Tuesday, April 20th through Friday, April 23rd, no school, April vacation. Tuesday, May 4th, school committee meeting, 6:30 p.m. Thursday, May 13th, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Subcommittee, 7 p.m. via Zoom. Wednesday, May 19th, school committee meeting, 6:30 p.m. Location to be determined. And Thursday, May 27th, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Subcommittee meeting, 7 p.m. via Zoom. That is it for announcements this evening.
Thank you, Mr. DeForge. Very well done. Even correcting the 23rd from the 32nd.
I think there are tricks in there to see if I'm paying attention. That's okay.
Sorry, John.
That's okay.
You know, I think we're going to need those extra days this month, so I'm glad you left that in.
Yeah.
I don't think they want. No. Well, yes, they can have the extra days if it means rest and relaxation.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was gonna say,
right.
it's gonna feel like Friday, April 32nd. By the time we're finished, but that's okay.
Should we be referring to the diversity equity as an advisory committee on there instead of subcommittee?
Yes, you should. Okay, we'll make that change. Sorry there.
Yeah, a minor point, just
Well, but you're right on that. So we are going to adjourn into executive session. We will reconvene following the executive session only to adjourn the meeting. So there'll be no other business done after that point. So if I could have a roll call vote, please, to go into executive session.
Joyce,
Yes, sir.
if I may, I just wanted
I'm
to make.
sorry, it's for contracts.
Right. But just before we start that vote, I just wanted to see if Dr. Malone could update the college acceptance list to include McGill University.
Whoa.
Congratulations.
nice.
Yeah.
No, I asked today, they didn't send an update over. I apologize.
Oh,
And I think, I think, does she do it every other week or something, Michelle? Sorry.
I asked her prior to every school committee meeting, but since the last report, she had not received any updates from students.
that's, yeah, well, Catherine wouldn't update anybody anyway. That's me doing it. So that's the only way I was able to get it on there.
Yes, I know. Oh, that is so wonderful. And I congratulated her when I saw her yesterday morning. What an opportunity.
Yeah.
Her mother is not even allowed to post it.
Oh, hello, mother. Congratulations. I know, so humble, but I asked Sierra what Sierra was going to be doing with her siblings gone. She said she was going to run mom and dad's house.
Yeah, that would be different. How would that be different?
She was cute.
That's great. Congratulations to Kat.
Yeah.
She might have a friend named Emily up to visit her because Emily's looking
There you
there
go.
too.
They play a lot of hockey up there.
As soon as the borders open again, I'm sure she'll be welcome.
Well, we're gonna go take a look at when the borders open, but that's great. Congratulations to her.
Yeah.
So thank everybody for coming tonight. And Michelle, if you can do a roll call vote to adjourn into executive
Hold
session,
on.
please.
We don't have a hold on. We don't have a motion yet. So hold on. I'll make the motion.
Thanks, Jonathan.
Okay, happy to help. I would make a motion at 8:57 that we enter into executive session for the purpose of discussion of non-unit employee contracts and only to exit executive session for the sole purpose of adjourning regular session.
Second.
And it's so easy when you say all in favor, aye, but since we're not allowed to do that, Michelle, we're going to need your help.
Mr. DeForge,
Aye.
Mrs. Granger,
Aye.
Mr. Leone,
Aye.
Mr. Quinty,
All right.
Mrs. Reshoots,
Aye.
Mrs. Simmons.
Thank you, everyone.